will probably never fool me after doing this. Look, you can see the columns along the side. That's a dead giveaway. I don't want to cut too much of this because I love the opal in its enormously giant form like that. It's really hard to get sometimes. Can we learn how to tell fake or synthetic lab created opal from the real thing? And I've had questions on this. The funny thing is I answered somebody right off the cuff. And what I told them was to start with the fake and take a really good look at that and work from there so you can tell what real opal is not like. And this is what we're comparing everything to. It's a piece of lab created opal. We're going to investigate this thing in a lot of detail. Here's the other side of it. Opal like this doesn't have a regular crystal structure like most of our gemstones. We're also going to be cutting a piece of this to see how realistic a gemstone we can get, because I have a suspicion that there will be a way to tell the difference. I don't have any problem with lab created materials pretty much at all if they are marketed as the synthetic lab creation that they are. That there can be deception, somebody cutting one of these and trying to sell it as a real thing, and I see it on the market every day. Telling him to reverse engineer it, to look at the fake stuff first and then develop an eye for the fake so that you can spot it. Because this, I think, is the biggest giveaway. The side. So here's the paper part. I'm going to blaze right through this. Always do your own research. I am simply going off my eye. I'm not trying to be the world's greatest, most accurate scientist or anything. That's really up to you. But let's get into this. In the natural formation of opal, let's have a volume. What's going to happen is this is just a fissure in the rock somewhere, Western Australia or whatever. Over time, the microsilicate creates these spheres. And they come in here and they fill that void up. These little spherules, which are measured in nanometers, they're so small. These have certainly been dissolved in water and they make their way into the little fissure and they do this very kind of a random thing. This sort of illustrates the non-crystallization of opal. Take a look at what the synthetic stuff seems to do. And this is once again what I believe I'm observing. We have a volume. What I see happening is that the spherules are kind of almost like a 3D printer. They fall down into columns. And as I was cutting it, I noticed a smell that was like a smell of a green olive, which was very synthetic. So there's a resin involved in this process as well. But this is more of like the organization that I noticed, and that's kind of a giveaway. There is an issue in detecting synthetic opal, I've noticed, which I'm calling the doublet triplet problem. And that is that when the doublet of the triplet is made, the sheet of opal that is used is so thin, it doesn't have a side to observe. Okay, a couple of other things we want to watch out for. In the olden days, you used to travel around a bit more, do some rock hounding yourself, find opal. But today it's far more common for gemstone purchases to be made online. What you need to know about like listing pictures, and you can see this today on eBay, I'm sure, where you see a photograph of an opal, especially from certain international sellers, you will see that the fire pattern. So on an online listing, you can tell if you look closely enough at the picture if they've used the Photoshop clone stamp to put more of the same little figure on there and overpopulate your opal. So this is something to carefully watch for when you're buying from an online listing. And finally, this is an observation. It's the least solid of all of my observations, but I have it in my eye and I understand it now in my brain. There is a figure, looks like a triangle. Often it's a trapezoid. It will have a divot in the bottom part of the fire figure. What I noticed then is in the natural, this is about 1/4 the amount of this type of figure than you'll find in the synthetic. The synthetic had about 4 times more of this little thing happening, and I couldn't miss it. It's when you look straight down the column, it's supposed to be the displayed fire pattern on the opal. Okay guys, I hope you understand that, but you've got to use your own eye. I could be completely wrong. I'm almost certain that I'm not. But when you see this thing and you see this repeating too many times by about a factor of 4, because we get this shape in the natural for whatever reason, those little spheres just like to do this, but you're going to get so much more random stuff. It's not regular. And on the synthetic, we noticed the columns are roughly equidistant. All right, so these are some ways that we can try to tell the difference between real and fake opal. Also, that to buy from an online listing, size is hard to tell from a photograph, so you want to look at the dimensions and read the description, get really all the information that you can, because it's very hard. It takes a very trained eye to get a 3D picture of a rough off an online listing. Although it can be done. I think it didn't take me that long to be able to do that. All right, so now we've cut this item. It is very rough cut, but I did this on purpose because with one, I can tell a difference in thicknesses. I still, at this point, think the edge is gonna be a giveaway and kind of thin. Yeah, you can still knock that off. This is kind of feeling like a toy. It's got its place in the market somewhere, but I tried to cut these in such a way where we would have an edge that we curved around, a almost straight, very flat edge. This one is just flat on the bottom. Yep, but it serves our purposes nicely. And here was an attempted oval. Of course, I'm not trying to be perfect in any way. And I did use the old American Rockhound's secret technique for burnishing these. So I just hand did it a little bit yesterday and got a really good mirror polish sort of a result, although they still have scratches on them. Okay, so let's just take an initial glance at these. First of all is this one, which was just a test swatch. Here, it's a little too populated. I do have some black opal that looks like this, that is natural, that actually has finer grain. Yeah, we'll take a little bit of a look at that as well. But this sort of this side kind of simulates it. I wonder why. So we got all our angles. We got the very thin, where this is telling. Can we see those columns? Yes. Around the curve, you can see the columns in the second row. That is fascinating. Well, I'm so glad that we're doing this. Here, look at that. Ha ha ha, please. So your only hope of really faking it is to bring it down to as close to a thin edge as you can. Here's the second one. This one I just cut kind of in this shape. Yep, it's a giveaway. You see that right there? Yep. Oh, it's very ugly right there, relatively speaking. Look at that. Yeah, I think once your eye is trained on this, it kind of looks more like a toy, a school supply or something. The top looks great. Could probably fool most anybody, except that I am really seeing that shape. It's not always exactly the same, but it has a triangle divot in the bottom of it. The back, okay. And now the telltale sides. Yep, I see columns. Yep. Oh my gosh, my eye is now trained. Terrific. Okay guys, so last segment that I have to do here is the macro. We're gonna take a look at all kinds of wonderful opals, including the little black opal. And right here, this is also a good example of how the real thing is so much less uniform than the fake. They call these little doublets opal rubs. This is basically a viewer request that we're doing. Oh, look at that one on the right. Okay guys, I'm sure this has been of some sort of use. Viewer request number 1 on the modern rock scene. Thanks for watching.